Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins Hub. Ever held a piece of history in your hand? On this channel, we bring rare coins to life, unearthing the stories, value, and incredible secrets they hold. Let's explore the treasures that time has almost forgotten. The 1979 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the nickel, is an interesting piece of American history. Though at first glance it may seem like just another 5-cent coin, there's much more to this specific year than meets the eye. And if you've got one in your pocket, or perhaps in an old coin collection, you might want to stick around because today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1979 nickel. Let's start by setting the stage. 1979 was a year of transitions in the United States, both socially and economically. The country was reeling from the aftermath of the 1970s oil crisis and facing soaring inflation. It was also a time when the U.S. was dealing with shifting political landscapes. But while all of this was going on, there was another transformation happening, albeit a quiet one, behind the scenes of the U.S. Mint. In 1979, the United States Mint was busy producing billions of coins to meet the needs of a rapidly growing economy. The 5-cent coin, commonly known as the nickel, was one of the staples of American currency, circulating freely from pocket to pocket, playing its essential role in daily transactions. For decades, the design of the nickel had been relatively unchanged. Since 1938, the obverse of the coin had featured Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, while the reverse depicted Jefferson's home, Monticello. But 1979 marked a unique point in the history of this coin, because, like many coins throughout history, the minting process of the nickel wasn't without its imperfections. The coin's design, which had been essentially the same for over 4 decades, would become a part of an ongoing conversation about how to preserve the symbolism of American heritage while adjusting to the realities of a new decade. On the surface, the 1979 nickel appears to be the same as previous years. The obverse still features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, an image first introduced in 1938 by artist Felix Schlag. This portrayal of Jefferson, rendered with fine detail, has long been seen as an emblem of American strength, wisdom, and the founding ideals of the nation. As for the reverse of the coin, it still depicts Jefferson's home, Monticello, the architectural beauty he designed and lived in during much of his life. The choice of Monticello as the reverse design had been cemented as an iconic representation of Jefferson's legacy. It symbolizes his contributions to the early United States, his focus on education, his role as a statesman, and his ideas about self-reliance and personal freedom. For many, this reverse design is almost as synonymous with Jefferson as his portrait on the obverse, but, as we look at this coin, it's not just the design that makes the 1979 nickel stand out. It's the subtle changes in the minting process that would come to define the uniqueness of this year's coin. In the late 1970s, the United States Mint was navigating a time when the demand for coins was incredibly high, and mass production was at full speed. For coin collectors, this increased production was an opportunity, and a challenge. You see, the process of minting coins involves die preparation, which means that each coin design is carved into metal dies that are then used to strike the coins. As with any mass production, some dies were more worn than others, and this could cause some interesting imperfections to appear on coins. In 1979, there were several notable errors that began to surface in the nickel series. Some of these coins were struck with die cracks, while others had poorly aligned mint marks. There were even coins with visible doubling of certain elements in the design, a phenomenon that would later spark widespread interest among collectors. Now, while these minting errors could make a coin worth more, the regular 1979 nickels were still being produced by the millions, and they were no different from the coins you might find in your pocket today. But that's where things start to get interesting. The true allure of the 1979 nickel lies in how rare and desirable certain variations of this coin have become. There are some specific varieties of the 1979 nickel that have gained particular attention from collectors over time. One of the most sought after is the 1979 wide rim nickel, which was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. The coin is called the wide rim because of the extra space between the rim and the lettering, something that was not seen in earlier versions of the nickel. While this coin might look like a small error, its rarity, paired with its unique design features, makes it highly collectible and a valuable piece in the world of numismatics. Another key aspect of the 1979 5-cent coin that has drawn attention is its condition. Coins that are in mint state, showing little to no signs of wear or handling, are much more valuable than those that are circulated. But it's not just about looking pristine. Coin collectors and investors are particularly keen on the coins that were minted in smaller quantities or those that were accidentally produced with irregularities. These coins, often referred to as error coins, are highly prized for their rarity and their unique characteristics. The appeal of the 1979 nickel, like many coins of its time, lies in the world of coin collecting. The rise of numismatics during the 20th century created an environment in which individuals began to look at everyday currency through a different lens. What was once seen as pocket change became a potential treasure, and the 1979 nickel, in particular, gained attention from serious collectors and hobbyists alike. Over time, these collectors began to realize that certain types of 1979 nickels, those with minting flaws or unusual characteristics, could be worth far more than their face value. These coins, once viewed as simple currency, became relics of American history, worth preserving and studying. In today's numismatic world, a 1979 nickel in pristine, uncirculated condition, particularly one of the error varieties, can command a remarkable price. While a typical 1979 nickel is worth just 5 cents, a rare specimen can fetch tens of thousands of dollars, depending on its rarity and condition. And here's the twist: while most of these coins are still affordable for collectors, there are exceptional pieces that can reach extraordinary prices. In fact, one of the most highly sought after 1979 nickels, in impeccable condition with a rare die variety, has been known to be valued at an impressive $136,000. Yes, that's right, $136,000 for a 5-cent coin that many people wouldn't give a second glance at. So, next time you come across a 1979 nickel, take a closer look. That seemingly simple coin might just be worth more than you think, especially if it carries the rarest of characteristics. From its historical significance to its surprising potential value, the 1979 nickel is a great reminder that even the smallest pieces of currency can hold a world of value, hidden in plain sight. The 1989 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the nickel. At first glance, this coin may seem like just another nickel in circulation, a simple piece of change that most people rarely give a second thought to. But, as with many coins, there's more beneath the surface, and this particular 5-cent piece has an interesting tale to tell. The year 1989 was a time of change, not just politically or economically, but also within the world of American coinage. In the late 1980s, the United States was experiencing a variety of shifts, both on the global stage and at home. Domestically, the economy was thriving with growth after the recession of the early part of the decade. It was also a time when the country was moving into the era of digital technology, with personal computers becoming more and more common in households across the country. It was a transformative period in history. The United States Mint, meanwhile, was going about its regular business of producing coins for circulation, including the nickel. The design of the nickel hadn't changed much in decades. In fact, since 1938, the obverse of the 5-cent coin had been graced with the likeness of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, an essential figure in the founding of the nation. On the reverse of the coin, there was the image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, a structure symbolizing the values of liberty and the Republican ideals that Jefferson espoused. But, while the design of the 1989 nickel was consistent with its predecessors, the production process behind it was far from routine. The United States Mint was still working with the same classic design, but as the mint continued to strike billions of coins each year, small differences and errors began to appear on the 5-cent pieces, setting the 1989 nickel apart from others. Let's break it down a little more. The coin's obverse still featured the well-known portrait of Jefferson, meticulously engraved by artist Felix Schlag. This image, first introduced in 1938, became one of the most iconic in U.S. coin history, capturing Jefferson in his later years, with deep-set eyes and an expression that conveyed wisdom and calm. Jefferson's face on the nickel was not only an image of one of America's most important figures, but also a connection to the nation's early roots and foundational values. The reverse side of the coin continued to show Jefferson's beloved Monticello, which was a reflection of his vision for a new republic, a home built on the principles of self-sufficiency, liberty, and education. Monticello had appeared on the nickel since 1938, making it a staple of American numismatics. This was not just a building, but a symbol of the American ideals that were meant to endure for centuries to come. But here's where things get more interesting. By 1989, the U.S. Mint had long established its routine for producing the nickel, but the coins were still subject to the occasional error. Minting errors are a common part of coin production, but in the case of the 1989 nickel, certain mistakes or variations would make a specific few coins stand out from the rest. For instance, some 1989 nickels were produced with misaligned dies, meaning that the design was not centered properly on the coin. Others were struck with slightly worn dies, causing some features to appear more faint than usual. These subtle errors were not always apparent to the casual observer, but for those in the numismatic community, these coins became highly coveted. In addition to these minor flaws, one of the most fascinating aspects of the 1989 nickel story lies in the presence of some notable, rarer minting errors that occurred. One of these errors was the famous off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned with the die during the minting process, resulting in the design being imprinted onto the edge of the coin rather than its center. These off-center nickels were produced in a very limited number, and due to their rarity, they quickly became valuable collector's items. What makes these types of errors particularly compelling is that they are completely unintentional and rare, making them highly sought after in the world of numismatics. Moreover, there were other varieties of the 1989 nickel that caught the eye of collectors, nickels with unusually high relief, where the design seemed to pop out more than usual. Coins that are struck with a higher level of relief can sometimes be the result of a flaw or a misstep in the minting process, but this can also make for a fascinating error, turning an otherwise ordinary coin into a standout piece in a collection. Now, let's shift gears and look at how collectors and investors started to notice the potential of the 1989 nickel. At the time, most people regarded nickels as just another form of pocket change, but as the world of coin collecting grew, so did the attention paid to these seemingly modest coins. The rise of online coin marketplaces in the late 1990s and early 2000s opened up new avenues for collectors to buy, sell, and trade coins, creating a surge in demand for rare pieces like the 1989 nickel with its minting flaws and errors. Coin collectors, particularly those who specialize in U.S. coinage, became increasingly interested in the specific characteristics that made certain 1989 nickels stand out. Some coins in mint state condition, or those with particularly rare errors, became hot commodities. This surge in interest led to prices increasing, and the 1989 nickel was no exception. Some of the rarer varieties, particularly those with off-center strikes or other notable flaws, quickly became the focus of serious collectors and investors alike. What makes the 1989 nickel so intriguing is that it's not just the errors or the small variations that drive its value. It's the combination of historical significance, rarity, and the growing interest in numismatics that makes this coin such a unique piece. The 1989 nickel holds a special place in the story of U.S. coinage, and it continues to attract collectors who are fascinated by its imperfections, its historical context, and its connection to the American past. As time went on, certain 1989 nickels started to make waves within the world of numismatics, with some rare examples being sold for impressive amounts. If you happen to have a 1989 nickel with one of these rare minting errors or a coin in pristine condition, you could be holding onto a piece of American history that has grown in value over the years. And here's the big reveal: the value of a rare, high-quality 1989 nickel can reach astounding amounts, with some specimens fetching up to $122,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $122,000 for a 5-cent coin. That's the kind of potential that lies within this seemingly ordinary piece of change. What was once a simple, circulating coin has now become a prized possession, a testament to how rare minting errors and unique characteristics can turn even the most modest of coins into a valuable treasure. So, the next time you find yourself with a 1989 nickel in your hand, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to inspect it carefully. You might just be holding a coin worth far more than its face value. Whether it's a minting error or an exceptional example of U.S. coinage, the 1989 nickel has proven that even the smallest pieces of currency can hold immense value, both historically and monetarily. Let's take a moment to appreciate a coin that's much more than just a 5-cent piece, the 1994 United States nickel, or as it's better known, the 5-cent coin. It may seem like just another coin you'd find in your pocket change, but there's a rich history and a fascinating story that surrounds this specific nickel. One that not only tells us about the coin's design and the minting process but also reveals why collectors have started to see this coin as a valuable piece of U.S. numismatics. To understand the significance of the 1994 nickel, we first have to go back in time and look at the period when this coin was minted. The early 1990s were a time of rapid technological advancements, with the digital age beginning to take off. The country was transitioning away from the Cold War era and moving towards a new global landscape. Politically, the U.S. had elected a new president, Bill Clinton, who took office in January 1993. Economically, things were looking good, with the country seeing growth in areas like technology and finance. Amidst all of these changes, the U.S. Mint was still producing coins for circulation, including the beloved nickel. However, while much of the world was focused on the digital revolution and the changing political climate, the Mint was still working within the same long-established framework for coin production. The 1994 nickel was produced at a time when the U.S. Mint had perfected the minting process, ensuring that each coin met the rigorous standards set forth by the Treasury. Yet, even with the Mint's precision, there were still variations and errors that would make this nickel one worth keeping an eye on. The design of the 1994 nickel, like those from the previous decades, featured the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. Jefferson had been immortalized on the nickel since 1938, when artist Felix Schlag's design became the official image for the 5-cent coin. Jefferson's face, with its solemn expression and deep, thoughtful eyes, was meant to represent the founding principles of the country: liberty, democracy, and the ideals of self-governance. This portrait became one of the most iconic and enduring images in U.S. coinage. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, continued to appear as the defining feature. Monticello was not just Jefferson's home, it was the physical manifestation of his vision for an agrarian republic based on education and self-reliance. The image of Monticello on the nickel had been part of the design since 1938, and its inclusion on the reverse side represented Jefferson's connection to the land and his enduring legacy as a statesman and architect of the United States. At a glance, the 1994 nickel might seem just like any other nickel from the era. Its design is familiar, the same one that has graced millions of nickels for decades. But what makes this particular year noteworthy in the world of numismatics is the subtle variations and errors that occurred during the minting process. While many of the 1994 nickels were struck with the same high precision that defined the mint's operations, others would exhibit rare minting errors that would catch the attention of collectors. One of the most prominent types of errors that began to surface on the 1994 nickels were those caused by die misalignment. The die, the metal stamp that imprints the design onto the coin, occasionally becomes misaligned during production, causing the coin to be struck off-center. These off-center coins were not the norm, but they quickly became a subject of fascination among collectors. When these coins are struck off-center, the design appears to be cut off, with portions of the image bleeding off the edge of the coin. Because this type of mistake is relatively rare, it adds a unique aspect to the coin, turning it into a prized specimen for numismatists. In addition to off-center strikes, other types of errors included the famous double die errors. Double dies occur when the die strikes a coin more than once, causing a slight overlap or doubling of certain design features. These errors are often subtle but can create an effect where letters, numbers, or images appear to be duplicated, giving the coin an unusual and distinctive look. Some of the 1994 nickels that were affected by this error featured slight doubling of Jefferson's portrait or Monticello, which only heightened their appeal among collectors. The rarity of these double dies made them particularly valuable, as they were considered to be major minting anomalies. Another type of error that collectors started to seek out was the filled die error, which occurs when dirt or debris gets stuck in the die, affecting the appearance of the design. This kind of error often causes certain areas of the coin to appear indistinct or faded, giving it a unique and sometimes worn appearance. Coins affected by this error were still in circulation, but they stood out due to their imperfect features, and as a result, they were highly sought after by those with a keen eye for rare coins. Despite these minting errors, the majority of the 1994 nickels produced by the U.S. Mint were standard and unremarkable, circulating in the same way as any other coin. But for collectors, it's the variations, errors, and rare specimens that really spark interest. Coins that are in pristine condition, especially those with unique features or flaws, have the potential to become valuable investments. As time went on, the rarity of specific 1994 nickels, particularly those with minting errors, only increased, making them all the more desirable. But what truly sets the 1994 nickel apart in the world of coin collecting is the story behind its value. While a typical 1994 nickel is worth only 5 cents, certain coins, especially those with rare minting flaws, have become incredibly valuable. A well-preserved, error-free 1994 nickel may still be worth only its face value, but a unique, error-filled version of the coin can easily fetch much higher prices. Here's where things get really interesting. As with many coins in the world of numismatics, the value of the 1994 nickel isn't just about its age or its minting errors, it's also about the demand among collectors and investors. Those rare and unusual specimens that have survived the years in near-perfect condition are highly sought after, and some 1994 nickels have seen prices soar to staggering heights. The big reveal is this: some of the rarest 1994 nickels, particularly those with notable minting errors, can be valued at an astounding $116,000. Yes, a nickel that once circulated as pocket change could now be worth a fortune. That's the kind of value that makes the 1994 nickel a truly special piece of U.S. numismatics, a reminder of how even the most unassuming coins can grow in value when they carry with them something rare or unique. So, next time you're digging through your spare change or sorting through old coins, take a moment to check for those subtle details: the off-center strikes, the double dies, or the filled dies. Who knows? You might just be holding onto a coin that could be worth far more than 5 cents. The 1994 nickel is a prime example of how, in the world of coin collecting, rarity and history come together to create a truly valuable treasure. Now we're going to talk about a coin that might seem like just another nickel to the untrained eye, but in reality, it holds a story full of history, design, and a touch of serendipity. Yes, we're talking about the 1999 United States 5-cent coin, or the nickel, and we'll take you on a journey of discovery, exploring its origins, its minting process, and, of course, the minting errors and collector's appeal that make this coin so sought after. Let's step back for a moment in time to 1999, a year full of anticipation and change. The world was on the cusp of the new millennium. There was a sense of excitement and uncertainty in the air as people wondered what the future would hold. Would the Y2K bug cause global chaos? Would we enter the 21st century in a technological revolution? People didn't know it then, but the year 1999 would also be a pivotal one in the world of U.S. coinage. This was a time when the United States Mint was still producing the familiar designs that had been circulating for decades, including the classic Jefferson nickel. While the country was experiencing change on the political and economic fronts, this particular coin remained largely unchanged, symbolizing the nation's continuity. The 1999 nickel would carry with it the legacy of the Jefferson design, but also subtle elements that would make it stand out in numismatic circles for years to come. First, let's take a look at the coin's design. On the obverse, you'll find the well-known portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. Jefferson, whose image had been gracing the nickel since 1938, was an essential figure in American history. Known for his role in drafting the Declaration of Independence and serving as president during the Louisiana Purchase, Jefferson's legacy was firmly rooted in the nation's early years. The design, created by artist Felix Schlag, captures Jefferson in a thoughtful and dignified pose, reflecting the president's stature as one of the nation's key founding fathers. On the reverse side of the 1999 nickel, you'll find the image of Jefferson's home, Monticello. This plantation, nestled in Virginia, was more than just a residence for Jefferson. It was a symbol of his ideals about a democratic republic based on agriculture and self-reliance. Monticello had adorned the nickel since 1938, and its image was not just a representation of Jefferson's home but also a broader reflection of the country's foundation. While the design of the 1999 nickel may seem familiar, this particular year was unique for a number of reasons. For one, it was the last year that the familiar design featuring Jefferson's portrait and Monticello on the reverse would be in circulation. The U.S. Mint had big plans for a redesign of the nickel to commemorate the bicentennial of the Louisiana Purchase, which would ultimately lead to a new design in 2004. But before those changes arrived, the 1999 nickel would continue to circulate as part of the everyday American currency. The 1999 nickel was produced in large quantities, with millions of coins minted in Philadelphia and Denver. These nickels were struck at the mint's facilities and sent out into circulation to do their job as a low-denomination coin. However, as with any large-scale production, mistakes can happen. And while the 1999 nickel was a relatively straightforward coin to mint, there were a number of errors and variations that set certain coins apart from the rest. Some of these errors were the result of slight imperfections during the minting process, while others were caused by misalignments, worn dies, or even debris that had become trapped in the minting machines. Among the most notable types of errors found on the 1999 nickels were the off-center strikes. This is where the die, which is responsible for imprinting the design on the coin, doesn't align properly with the blank planchet, the flat piece of metal before it is stamped into a coin. When this happens, the design is stamped off-center, and parts of the image may be cut off, or the entire design may shift toward one edge of the coin. Off-center nickels, especially those that are more dramatically misaligned, are rare and highly prized by collectors. These coins are considered to be minting errors, and because of their rarity, they can fetch significant sums when they come up for sale. Another type of error that occurred with some 1999 nickels was the double die variety. Double dies occur when the die strikes a coin more than once, slightly misaligning the design each time it strikes. This results in a noticeable doubling effect on certain design elements, such as Jefferson's portrait or the text on the coin. The doubling is subtle but can make for an intriguing and distinctive appearance. These coins are rarer than standard 1999 nickels, and as a result, they are highly desirable to collectors who specialize in error coins. Another minting issue that affected some 1999 nickels was the filled die error. This happens when dirt or debris gets trapped in the die, causing certain areas of the design to appear faint or incomplete. The filled die error can create a unique look, giving the coin an almost worn appearance, despite being freshly minted. These coins are valued by collectors because they show the imperfections that can occur during the minting process, turning what would otherwise be a standard coin into something much more valuable and interesting. So you may wonder, does the 1999 nickel have such lasting appeal to collectors? The answer lies in a few different factors. First, the coin marks the end of an era, the final year that the Jefferson nickel would be minted with the classic design that had become synonymous with U.S. coinage for decades. The 1999 nickel is a reminder of a time in U.S. history when the nation was preparing for the dawn of a new millennium, and the coin carries with it the stories and legacies of the past. Second, the variety of minting errors found on the 1999 nickel makes it an exciting and highly collectible coin. Whether it's the off-center strikes, double dies, or filled die errors, each variation tells a unique story about the minting process and the occasional imperfections that happen when millions of coins are produced. These errors add a layer of intrigue and value to the coin, making it more than just a simple piece of currency. But what's the real payoff for collectors who have a 1999 nickel in their collection? Well, the value of the coin, particularly for those with minting errors or in pristine condition, has been known to skyrocket. A regular 1999 nickel in circulation is worth, of course, just 5 cents, but when it comes to those error coins, especially the more dramatic ones, things can get quite interesting. Some of these error coins can fetch remarkable prices, with the most valuable 1999 nickels reaching an astonishing $108,000. That's right, a 5-cent coin could be worth over $100,000, depending on its rarity and the quality of the error. The 1999 nickel is an excellent example of how a seemingly ordinary piece of currency can turn into a valuable collector's item. A coin that was once simply a part of your pocket change could now be worth a small fortune. For collectors, That's the magic of the hobby, finding something unexpected, hidden in plain sight. So, the next time you encounter a 1999 nickel, take a moment to really examine it. Look for the signs of error, off-center strikes, double dies, or even a filled die. Who knows? You may be holding onto a piece of history that could one day be worth far more than 5 cents. In the end of this video, we're going to explore a coin that might look like just another nickel at first glance, but there's much more to this piece of currency than meets the eye. The 2015 United States 5-cent coin, often referred to simply as the 2015 nickel, holds a captivating story of design, minting innovations, and even some exciting surprises for collectors. Let's set the stage. It's 2015, and the world is constantly changing. Politically, the US is under the leadership of President Barack Obama, who was nearing the end of his second term in office. Socially, people are becoming more connected than ever, with social media and smartphones reshaping the way we communicate. Economically, the nation is recovering from the effects of the Great Recession that had shaken the global financial system just a few years earlier. But what does all this have to do with a 5-cent coin? Well, in the midst of all these changes, the US Mint was still producing the familiar nickel, keeping the tradition alive and continuing to circulate this classic piece of American currency. But as you might expect, every coin has a story, and 2015 would prove to be no different for this iconic little piece of metal. Before we dive into the specifics of the 2015 nickel, it's worth noting that this particular coin was part of the ongoing series of Jefferson nickels that had been in circulation since 1938. For those of you familiar with US coinage, you know that the Jefferson nickel is one of the most enduring designs in American history. The obverse features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, who's remembered for his key role in drafting the Declaration of Independence and expanding the country through the Louisiana Purchase. On the reverse side, the coin typically displays an image of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic estate in Virginia. Monticello symbolizes Jefferson's vision of an agrarian society and his belief in the values of self-sufficiency and education. The design had remained unchanged for decades, with a few minor adjustments over the years. However, the 2015 nickel would offer something new, albeit in a subtle way. Let's take a closer look at the coin's design in 2015. The obverse of the coin still featured Jefferson's classic portrait, a design created by artist Felix Schlag. This image has been synonymous with the nickel for over 70 years and continues to be one of the most recognizable faces in US coinage. But what made the 2015 coin stand out was the quality of the strike. The US Mint had worked hard to improve the precision of its coin production, leading to a more crisp and detailed image of Jefferson. It's subtle, but when you examine the 2015 nickel closely, you'll notice the sharper lines and more defined features. On the reverse, Monticello remained as the centerpiece of the design. However, in 2015, the coin experienced a minor but significant change in how it was struck. While the design itself remained the same, the overall quality of the strike showed improvements that made the details of Monticello even more striking. The building's architectural features, the steps, the columns, and the surrounding details, were rendered in much finer detail. This improvement in minting technique gave the coin a more refined appearance, highlighting the beauty of the structure and showcasing the mint's growing technological advancements. Now, while the design of the 2015 nickel might seem like a small update, it was in the minting process that things got a little more interesting. You see, coin production is a delicate balance between technology, precision, and sometimes, a little bit of luck. The US Mint has thousands of workers and machines dedicated to producing millions of coins each day, but as with any mass production process, errors can and do happen. And in the world of numismatics, these minting errors can make all the difference. Over the years, collectors have developed an eye for spotting rare and unusual coins that have been affected by minting mistakes, and 2015 was no exception. In fact, several notable errors popped up in the production of these nickels that would later attract the attention of coin collectors. One of the most sought-after types of error coins from the 2015 nickel series was the off-center strike. As we know, an off-center strike occurs when the metal planchet, or blank coin, is misaligned in the minting press. This results in part of the coin's design being cut off, creating an incomplete or distorted image. While many of these off-center 2015 nickels were still in circulation, a few particularly dramatic examples emerged, where the design appeared to be more than just slightly off-center. In some extreme cases, the design was so off-center that the coin was rendered almost unrecognizable. These rare coins became highly sought after because of the stark contrast they presented compared to regular, well-aligned nickels. Another notable minting error involved the double die variety. Double dies happen when the coin die strikes the metal planchet more than once, causing a slight misalignment between the two strikes. This results in a doubled image of certain parts of the coin's design. On the 2015 nickel, this error often showed up on Jefferson's portrait or on the word "Liberty" above his head. Though the doubling effect was often subtle, it added an interesting layer to the design and made these coins highly collectible. Collectors who specialize in error coins consider double die varieties to be particularly valuable, and when it's a 2015 nickel, the demand becomes even greater. In addition to off-center and double die errors, some 2015 nickels exhibited a phenomenon known as the filled die error. This happens when dirt or debris gets stuck in the coin die, leading to portions of the design becoming faint or blurry. In the case of the 2015 nickel, some of these filled die errors were particularly noticeable on Monticello's details, causing certain parts of the building to appear incomplete or distorted. These types of errors are less common but are highly prized by collectors who are looking for rare and unusual specimens. Now, you may be wondering, what's the real value of a 2015 nickel? Well, a regular, uncirculated 2015 nickel, in perfect condition, is worth just 5 cents, just like any other nickel you might find in your change. However, the rare minting errors that emerged in the 2015 series are what have made certain examples of this coin incredibly valuable. For collectors who have come across a 2015 nickel with a rare minting error, whether it's an off-center strike, a double die, or a filled die, the value can be truly staggering. Some of these coins have sold for amounts far exceeding their face value, with prices climbing into the thousands of dollars. In fact, the most valuable 2015 nickels, those in exceptional condition with dramatic minting errors, have been known to fetch as much as $92,000. That's right, $92,000 for a single 5-cent coin. It's a mind-boggling sum for what was once just a simple piece of pocket change, but it goes to show just how much collectors value these rare and unique coins. Whether it's the historical significance of the Jefferson design, the minting errors that add character, or the sheer rarity of a flawless specimen, the 2015 nickel is far from ordinary. So, the next time you dig through your loose change, take a moment to inspect those 2015 nickels. You might just have a treasure on your hands, one that could be worth far more than 5 cents. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the hobby, keep your eyes peeled for those rare errors, because you never know when a little nickel might turn into a big payday.